If you feel empty inside, just know that you're not alone, bro. This feeling of emptiness is a sign for you to go within and fill yourself back up. And you may be wondering, how do I fill myself back up? I'm not where I want to be in life. I feel like I'm behind. I feel like I could be doing more. So how can I fill myself back up? And the way you fill yourself back up is by going within. It's through self-love. And when I say self-love, it doesn't mean having a bath, getting a massage, doing things external. I'm talking about going inside, going within, whether it's meditation, whether it's prayer, and healing the inner child, healing the inner boy that's inside you. That's what self-love is. All those times that you feel empty inside, it's actually a good thing. It's actually a great thing, because whenever you feel anything, it's usually communication from your spirit, from your higher self. When you feel empty, it's a sign that you're doing something, or you're around people, or you're in an environment that's out of alignment with you. Out of alignment with what? Out of alignment with your vision, with your true self, with your higher self. So this feeling of emptiness manifested for me around the age of 18. I was an avid gamer, no life gamer before. Every day I used to play PS4, but it wasn't really out of enjoyment. It was more to escape my own emotions, to escape, the environment that I was in. I used my PlayStation as a safe haven. All of the emotions that I suppressed and all the unprocessed thoughts that I held in, playing the game was my escape, my way out. But then after my spiritual awakening at 17, when I felt God's presence inside of me for the first time in my life, I started to feel different. Every time I turned on the PlayStation now, it felt like I was doing something wrong. Whenever I was playing the game, even when I was playing with one of my friends, I just felt mad empty inside. Like I felt this inner resistance. And this is coming from someone who used to do all-nighters on the PlayStation. I used to bang COD to the point I even played GBs. Like, if you're a real COD gamer, then you know what GBs are. Game battles. Whether it was weekend league or duo squads or Fortnite, like, I was really that no-life gamer. And I still am a no-life gamer. Only this time I'm addicted to the game of life. You feel me? But as I was saying before, this feeling of emptiness is usually a sign from our spirit that we're heading in the wrong direction. So all those times that I felt mad empty when I was playing the game, it was a sign from my spirit that you can't be doing this anymore. I had goals, I had a mission, I had visions, and by playing that PlayStation, I was delaying it. I wasn't advancing in my destiny and what I was called for. So that's why I experienced the feelings of emptiness, because it was my spirit letting me know what you're doing right now isn't helping you. So that's the first thing I want you to know is, when you're feeling empty, it's a sign. There's two things you need to know. One it's a sign for you to go within and fill yourself back up. Whatever you're doing that's making you feel empty or making you feel lost, it's a sign to temporarily withdraw from it and go within, whether that's meditation, whether that's prayer. And the second thing I want you to know is feeling empty is a good thing. It's direct communication from your spirit that whatever you're doing whilst you're feeling empty, or whatever environment you're in whilst you're feeling empty, or whatever people you're around whilst you're feeling empty, your spirit is telling you that these external variables do not align with you, do not align with your true self. So like, I'm 22 years young now, and in the last 4 years since I was 18, I've only been to like one club, one motive in the space of like 4 years. And that one time that I went, it was the first time after a year. It was the first time in a year that I actually saw my guys. I locked myself away in introspection and solitude because that was my first day of trading, so I completely locked myself away and got straight to work, you feel me? But when I rekindled with my guys, we ended up going to a little nightclub thing, and it was great. It was lit for the first 30 minutes because my mind hadn't been used to that amount of stimulation at one point in a while. So when I was there, it was lit for a moment, but then after a while, I was just sitting down on the sofa, just thinking, yo, like, just feeling empty, like, why am I even here? And I know you've experienced the same thing, where you're in a party, you're in a motive, or you're playing the game, or you're just doing, like, you might be sitting on your sofa, you might be watching TV or Netflix, and you get hit with this emptiness, like this feeling, these questions inside of you, like, why am I even here? Why am I even doing this? And I want you to know that that's a great thing to feel. And to don't feel ashamed, don't feel weak, don't feel, know that that's divine intervention, that's your spirit letting you know that these things do not align with your true self. Because if you compare this to all the times that you feel amazing, that you feel so enlivened, you feel just energized, is when you're doing things that you love, when you're doing things that you're naturally good at, that you're gifted in, things that you're passionate about, things that you're fascinated deeply with. And in all those times that you feel all of those amazing emotions whilst you're doing those things that are aligned with your true self, that's your spirit letting you know that this is your life path. So take that in for a sec and really think about it. Feeling empty isn't a sign of weakness. It's not a sign that anything's wrong with you. Don't feel guilty or feel shame or beat yourself up about feeling empty or feeling like you could be doing more or should be doing more. Just know that it's divine guidance, it's your spirit letting you know that whatever you're doing right now isn't aligned with who you truly are. And when you know that, you start to ask the question, who am I truly? And when you go into that introspection, a lot of people know that as shadow work, but when you go inside, when you go within, you realize that you're more than your physical body, you're more than your thoughts, you're more than your emotions. And how can I say this? How do I know this? Because all of those things can be observed. You can observe your body, you can observe your thoughts, you can observe your emotions from a purely third person perspective. And the reason why we can do that and the reason why you can do that is because you are not your body, you are not your emotions, you are not your thoughts, you are not your pockets, you are not your status, you are not your bank account. You're a divine being having a human experience. You are a divine being in a human flesh. You are a droplet from the ocean, from the infinite. So when you really truly understand this and embody this, it starts to take some relief off of your shoulders, because you know that you are not your status, you are not your pockets, you are not your bank account, you are not, you feel me? You're a divine being having a human experience. So that allows us to detach from a lot of these physical things that are causing so much inner disharmony. Usually the inner disharmony that we experience as men, and that you probably experience, is anxiety, overthinking, and these mental disharmonies usually arise when we are asking questions, when you're asking, how is this going to happen? How am I going to achieve the life I want? How am I going to do this? When is it going to happen? Like, I've been grinding for so long, I've been hustling for so long, I've been doing this for so long. When is it going to happen? A lot of the inner disharmony, the anxiety, the overthinking stems from your ego searching and seeking for some sort of certainty, some sort of known. All the anxiety and overthinking you experience is not you. As I said before, you're not your thoughts. All of these fears and what if scenarios and how and whens are all coming from your ego. And before you say you don't have an ego, you killed your ego. Your ego is simply the part of you that is, its only job is survival. It's the part of you that's focused on safety, shelter, food, procreation, security. So to say you have no ego would be to say that you don't have survival instincts. And we both know that's not true, bro. So your ego is an energy, it's a part of you, it's part of your identity. The ego is an energy. And energy cannot be destroyed, it can only be transferred from one form to another. So when you're experiencing the anxiety, the overthinking, and the constant what ifs, and feeling like you're behind in life, feeling like you could be doing more, feeling like you're empty inside, just know that you have to transfer that energy into another form of energy. And that other form of energy is your true self, is your higher self, is the version of you that's living the life that you want to live. So how do you access that? How do you know what that is? This is where using your imagination, this is where doing deep introspection and asking yourself, what is my why? Like, why am I doing all the things I'm doing? Why am I grinding? What's the ultimate reason? What's the ultimate purpose behind all of this? What's your why? And it's okay if you don't know what your why is immediately. When I first asked myself why, what was my why, I didn't find out until a couple months after. I didn't know the answer straight away, and that's fine, bro. It's okay. But one place you can start is just by looking at your childhood, looking at your entire life. What have you always been naturally gifted in? What have you always been naturally good at? What have you always excelled in without effort, without trying? What have you always enjoyed? What have you been fascinated with since you were young? And even the things that you're fascinated with now. What are the things that you do that when you do them, you forget about time, you forget about where you are, you forget about eating, you forget about drinking, you forget about sleeping? What drives you? What fuels your fire? Because the true why is hidden within all those things I mentioned. So the root of feeling empty is you're doing something that's out of alignment with your true self. And as soon as you hear that, don't beat yourself up. Don't beat yourself up for it. As men, a lot of us have unhealed inner childs, inner boys inside of us. So the first thing we have to do to heal, the first thing we have to do to progress is to heal this inner boy. And we do that through self-love, we do that through giving ourselves grace. Even where we're, not where we want to be in life, we still have to give ourselves grace. We still have to practice self-love. And self-love, practicing self-love is allowing ourselves to process trauma, allowing ourselves to process negative emotions, allowing ourselves to process negative thoughts, to revisit the childhood traumas, to revisit all the mistakes and fuck ups in your life. That's how you practice self-love. You directly go to it and you immerse yourself in it and you allow it to process. Because when you allow it to process within you, that's when it leaves, and that's when it stops causing the inner disharmony. That's when it stops causing the depression. It stops causing the self-doubt. That's when it stops causing the anxiety and the overthinking. When you allow yourself to process. When you allow the weeds of your subconscious mind to be uprooted. Your subconscious mind is where all these things are stored. I like to conceptualize the subconscious as a file cabinet and an inner garden. You know, it's a file cabinet because all the things you were ever told, all the traumas you've ever experienced, whether it's abuse, whether it's embarrassment, whether it's life or death scenarios, all of that is stored in your subconscious mind as a file in your file cabinet. All of those negative events are like seeds that have been planted in the soil of your subconscious mind. And now and then they resurface. And when they resurface, because as men we're not encouraged or we're not taught how to process emotions, as soon as they start resurfacing, we like to push them back in, we like to ignore them, we like to use things outside of us, vices, whether it's substances, whether it's women, whether it's gaming, whether it's porn addiction, whatever it is, to try and get rid of these things and try to escape our own emotions and how we feel inside. But the truth is, the true self-love is allowing these seeds, allowing these files, these dusty old files to resurface and allow them to come out and be processed. And you don't have to go to therapy, you don't have to speak to your significant other, your wife, you don't have to speak to anyone outside of you. You can do this all alone through meditation, through prayer, through your conversation with whatever higher power, whatever truth you believe in that you know. Whether it's God, whether it's Yahweh, whether it's Allah, whether it's Buddha, whatever your truth is, simply by confiding in that and going towards that and giving all of your trauma, giving all your internal negativity to it. That's how you practice self-love. That's how you give yourself grace. That's how you heal the inner boy that's inside of you. So every time you're feeling empty, this is what your spirit is telling you to do, to go inside and heal yourself. You're feeling empty because you are empty. So it's your job and it's your responsibility to fill yourself back up. And you fill yourself back up by entering a conversation with your higher power, with communing with your higher power. So for me, that's communing with God. Anytime I feel empty, I immediately go into meditation. I go within. I stop whatever I'm doing. And I literally say to God, like, I'm feeling empty right now. And I know that's you telling me that whatever I'm doing right now is not aligned with my true self. So I just sit in that meditation, I sit in the feeling, I sit in the discomfort of feeling empty. And sometimes it only takes a couple seconds or a couple minutes for that feeling to pass. And I'm back to normal. And most times I'm even back to a higher vibrational state or a higher emotional state than I was before. You know, it's not about being high vibrational and being happy all the time and shit. But it's about having tools, systems and things to fall back on whenever you feel down, whenever you feel empty, whenever you feel like a burden, whenever you feel like less of a man than you are. It's by having these things to fall back on. And as men, you know, we're usually the rock and the foundation of society, of our homes. We're usually, you know, the person on top. And I don't say that in a degrading manner or anything like that. You know, as humans, we're all equal. But I'm saying, like, in the household, the man is like the head of the house. The man is the person that everyone in the family looks towards for the strength. So for us, you know, we can't talk to friends. Some of you feel like you can't talk to friends, you can't talk to your wife, your significant other, you can't talk to your children, you can't even talk to a therapist because no one truly understands what you've been through and what you go through. So after you've exhausted all of those different options, the last thing you're thinking about is who can I turn to now? What can I turn to now? And for me, that was God. And when I say God, it's not the same God that's a man sitting in the sky, sending people to hell, killing people, killing innocent people. That's not the same God I'm talking about. I'm talking about the same God that's with an energy that's within all living things and is inside of you as well. So by simply confiding in God, going to God, submitting and surrendering all your negativity, all your traumas, you know, on purpose, like bringing up all the things you've been through and giving them to God, allowing them to process, and not only allowing them to process, but seeing if there's any positivity within it. I know a lot of you have been through some fucked shit, and it may seem impossible to see what good can I ever see out of this. But even if you're in a situation where you've been through something that's so fucked that you're like, what good can even come out of this? What benefit can I even see out of this? Just know that there's probably someone else who's experienced the same thing, and by you healing yourself and revisiting those traumatic events and alchemizing them into purpose, into power, from pain, you're in the position to help someone else, to help another brother or to help another sister who's gone through the same thing or going through the same thing. You're in that position that you can help them. So that's the way I look at life. That's the way I look at adversity. That's the way I look at trauma. Everything negative that's ever happened in my life, no matter how painful it was, no matter how devastating it was, I always see there's some sort of positivity out of it. There's some sort of benefit. All the traumas that I've ever experienced, I don't feel attached to them. I can bring them up in my mind right now and feel no energetic residue from them because I've revisited them, I've processed them, and in every single scenario I've seen that this has shaped me into who I am today. A lot of the things I've experienced have forced me to mature earlier than most. That's why I'm 22 years young, and I look way younger than that, but the things I'm speaking about transcend my age because I've had to process these things. I've had to deal with all these things alone. I had no one to turn to, no one to go to except God. I found God in my darkest moments. At my lowest points in life, the only thing that was there was God. So that's why I can talk about all these things so extensively. But that's the answer for me, at least. Whenever you're feeling empty, whenever you're feeling anxiety, depression, whenever you're feeling guilt, shame, feeling like you're not where you want to be in life, all your negative emotions, the answer I found to dealing with all of them is confidence in God. Entering a conversation with God and admitting how you feel. Because as men, we're taught to suppress. We're not taught how to process these things. We're not taught how to deal with them. So the best thing we can do is go to something that's above us. It's within us, but it's also above us. In terms of power, in terms of divinity. So that's something that you can do. A lot of you believe in God, some of you don't. But just finding something that is above you, that is above your ego, that you know that's always got your back no matter what, and confiding in that in those times that you're feeling down, in those times you're feeling lonely, in those times you're feeling empty, is how you can heal. I want you to heal, bro. Because once you heal, it makes going towards your goals, and it makes being productive, it makes being disciplined and consistent, a lot of these things, it makes it much easier because you don't have this mental baggage that's slowing you down or weighing you down. So that's my little 2 cents on if you're a brother feeling empty, feeling lost, feeling disconnected, just know that it's okay, bro. All of that is a signal, is a sign from your spirit that you're not in your true self, that you're not doing the things that are aligned with your higher self, with your true self. And when you hear that, don't beat yourself up for it. It's okay. Give yourself grace. Some of you probably never heard of anyone saying give yourself grace. It's always be a man, man up, shrug it off. But no, every time you do one of those things, ignore, suppress, you're suppressing it back into your subconscious mind, you're suppressing it back into your body. And that's why it seems like anxiety, depression, feeling empty is always following you everywhere in life. Even when you get money, even when you get that woman, even when you get all the things you want, you still feel these things because you've been ignoring, suppressing, and holding back all these things that are begging to be released. And in those times where you just randomly get hit with this feeling of emptiness, this anxiety, this depression, it just comes out of nowhere, and you might be thinking, why? In all those times, the answer to all of that is mental detoxification. Your mind and your inner body is doing its best to get rid of toxicity, And that's why you experience those random outbursts, that random anger, that random trauma, that random flashback. It's mental detoxification. So you have to allow it to come out. You have to allow it to process. You have to allow the toxicity to leave. And you do that through meditation. You do that through prayer. You do that through introspection and spending time with yourself. You do that through solitude. So I hope this helps you. I hope this helps you quiet that inner noise. I'm just here as a vessel to help you quiet that inner noise, because I see so many of you suffering. So many of you suffering in silence. So many of you trying to find a solution or trying to turn to someone, but there's no one there to help you, because society has embedded into us that we have to deal with these things alone. So yeah, we're going to deal with these things alone, but it doesn't have to be painful. It doesn't have to be crazy, you know. I've literally written a book about all these things and how we can deal with these emotions alone, called Quiet the Noise Within. And it's not just a paywall. You know, all my content from now on, and I've already been releasing content, but all my content is directly towards quieting inner noise, quieting inner chaos, whether it's anxiety, overthinking, self-doubt, the inner critic, procrastination, whether it's lust and not being able to control your sexual energy, anything you can think of that is inner chaos, inner noise. I literally wrote a whole ebook about providing solutions for all of those things, to the point that you can turn your inner chaos into calm clarity, to the point you can turn your pain into peace, into poise, into purpose, into productivity. So all my content that I release, all my videos are all dedicated to helping you quiet that inner noise, to helping not only men but women as well, but helping young men deal with their emotions and deal with them in a way that you don't have to go to anyone else. You don't have to go to therapy. You don't have to, you know, in those situations that, you know, it's clinical and it's really a medical thing, then yeah, I 100% advise going to a professional, going to a doctor. But in those moments where you're experiencing a negativity in the moment, you know, all those things are external to you. So having something internal is quicker, is more efficient, is more, it makes sense. You know, one of my sayings is, anything that's internal is eternal, and anything that is external has an expiration. Whether it's a therapist, a wife, a girlfriend, a loved one that you confide in whenever you're feeling down or whatever, all of those things are external and they have an expiration. They won't always be there. And 90% of the time, 95% of the time, they're not going to be there in the exact moments that you're experiencing a disharmony. So it's imperative, it's so essential that you develop a way of dealing with all these things internally. You have systems to deal with the anxiety, the overthinking, to deal with everything that you feel internally, so that you don't have to rely on anyone outside of you. And I'm here as a vessel to help you remember how to do that. All my videos, everything, every word that I say is dedicated to that mission, dedicated to helping you quiet that inner noise. So if you'd like a head start, because I will be releasing all this information in videos on my YouTube, on Insta, everywhere, because we need this as men. You know, our mental health is something that's not taken serious. It's something that's laughed at, something that's ignored, even by our own brothers. You know, you try and speak about certain things with your boys and they laugh, or they don't take you seriously. So, you know, this is a very important, serious matter to me. So I'm dedicating my whole time and energy to helping men quiet that inner noise. And if you'd like a head start, then you can check out my ebook, Quiet the Noise Within. But just know it's not behind a paywall. I'm not gatekeeping any information. I'll be sharing everything online, but it's going to take time. So if you'd like to shortcut that and get straight to the gems, get straight to the knowledge, get straight to the applicable, you know, real life things, then I would highly recommend checking out my ebook, Quiet the Noise Within. It's not a self-help book. It's not toxic positivity. It's not red pill or fuck it, be disciplined, be hard 24/7. No, it's a real repeatable system, 7-step method for quieting the inner noise, for turning your inner chaos into calm clarity. So I'd highly recommend you check it out. And yeah, man, I welcome you to this movement of quieting the inner noise, because inner peace is one of the most valuable things we can have, especially as men. So I hope you have a great day, man.